One of the biggest tips that we have as facilitators to run an effective strategic planning offsite or strategy meeting is to set the right ground rules to guide every single conversation you're going to have. My name is Anthony Taylor. I've been facilitating strategic planning sessions and leadership team conversations for the past 10 years. And today I wanted to share with you the ground rules that we use that support all of our strategic planning work and all of the conversations we have with leadership teams. So I'll preface by saying that these ground rules were inspired by a book called The Skilled Facilitator, which was released some time ago, and that over the past 10 years or so from doing strategic planning, we've adapted these to our needs to best fit, our strategic planning intentions. But I wanted to go through these 12 rules that we set off at the very beginning of a 2 or 3 day strategic planning session to help guide the conversation and create the right environment for the team to be successful. Why we have ground rules to be able to have these conversations is so everybody has the same understanding of what's expected of them, and that we've got explicit guidelines to support open and honest conversations. So I'll go through these one by one. So number one, and the main role of us as facilitators is testing assumptions and inferences, really asking or clarifying, what did you mean by that? Because sometimes what you say isn't exactly the thing that's heard by the other person, and then you get confused or others get confused. And so our job as facilitators is to make sure that everybody understands what's being said and what is meant by others. Next is sharing all relevant information. And what does everybody need to know? So you got to put all the cards on the table so that you can make the best decision possible. Okay, so if you're holding back important information, you're not going to be able to make the right strategic decisions, and you're not going to be able to make the best decisions, period, for your organization. Number 3, discuss the undiscussable. So, don't avoid critical conversations, but do focus on facts. It's not personal. Some people think these things are really personal, so we say focus on the process, not the person, but really make sure that you don't avoid awkward conversations because it might hurt someone's feeling. At the end of the day, it's really about moving your business or organization forward. So you need to work through those tough conversations, and having a facilitator there to do it helps a lot. Number 4, use specific examples, not generalizations. So instead of saying Steve never answers his email, it's last week Steve didn't send me an email from manufacturing and it caused a delay in production and it slowed up a customer. When it's specific, you can actually deal with it and do something about it. It's specific versus generalization. It's subjective. You put a lot of thoughts and perspectives on it. So when you use specific examples, it's a lot more actionable, and it gives people a deeper understanding of what's really happening. Number 5, explaining reasoning and intent aligns with focusing on interests and not positions. So often what we see with leadership teams is, you're meeting as the heads of a company or the heads of the organization, but you also kind of represent your, manufacturing or sales or marketing, or you might be on the board, or you might be a key stakeholder. So we really make sure that everybody is clear what hat they're wearing in that conversation. And then also making sure that people don't ask leading questions. Why are you asking this? Are you trying to get to the heart of the issue, or are you trying to show that you're right? So making sure that you have the collective hat on. And then if you are speaking from your position, that it's explicit that that's what you're doing. Next is combining advocacy and inquiry. So if you're asking questions, are you trying to prove the point? Or are you actually curious about what's happening? So the key part around that is just making sure that if you're asking a question, it has the right intention behind it, and it is to move the question forward and move any sort of understanding forward as it relates to the issue. Design next steps to test disagreements. So disagreements are actually a good thing because it helps you get to the heart of the issue and helps you better understand the situation at play. But then 2 parties or 3 parties might not always agree right in that instance. So what we recommend and suggest is that if you disagree, say, okay, we agree to disagree, and how we're going to resolve it is X, Y, Z. To actually put a process in place to make sure that you can talk through it and get flat. As long as you have the right facts, then you can make the right decision and you can move forward. Make a decision that reflects a level of commitment. So we see this often with groups and we say, oh, somebody should do that, or that would be a great idea, or we should totally do blank. Well, what happens is if somebody should do it, nobody does it. And so you miss out on a great idea or a great opportunity. So what we say, if you believe in something, if you think something should be done, well, sign up for it. Make a commitment to it. I will do X by date. That way, if you believe in something, you're more likely to implement it, and then you don't leave, a strategic planning session with a bunch of wishes, but you've got an actual action plan to move it forward. Utilize the parking lot. So that's one of the important parts about having a facilitator, is that to keep the conversations on track and not going into a bunch of digressions. So we set up at the very beginning of a strategy session and we say, here's the parking lot. You might have things that are important, but not necessarily relevant to the conversation that we're having right now. So be sure to put it on a post-it note and we'll come back to it later, or it will almost certainly get resolved as we work through the strategic planning process. And if it doesn't, then we'll make a time to discuss it as a group. And so there's a lot of important stuff that comes up through these planning sessions, and people are writing notes, again, whether that's virtually or in person, say, oh, what about this? Or, oh, we need to discuss this. But if you follow every kind of tangent that happens in a 2-day offsite or an online strategic planning process, then you're never going to get the core outcomes done. So utilizing the parking lot, setting up a parking lot, is critical to help you have an effective meeting. The last two are really about, interpersonal dynamics, so creating an equity of voice and engagement. So as facilitators, we call on individuals to make sure that everybody is heard. Often, some people that are loud, they just dominate a conversation, but some people who aren't necessarily as outgoing have really great ideas. So really focusing on equity of voice and making sure that everybody is fully engaged. You get better results that way and you get better buy-in. And then a co-creation of a safe space. And this is, our last ground rule. It's really to support everybody in feeling that they are safe in saying what they want to say and the interest of moving the group forward. If someone isn't psychologically safe, whether in a meeting or an organization, they're not going to be giving their best work because they're always concerned with the repercussions or the impacts it might have. So as a leader and as a facilitator, your job is to create a safe space for participants to share, to contribute, to be of value, and to help move the outcomes forward. So these are just some of the ground rules. These are all the ground rules that we use when we do strategic planning session. And I hope it gives you a good idea of how much preparation really needs to be done to set the tone for an effective strategic planning offsite, and how using the right ground rules can support you and your team in having better outcomes. So if you're looking for a skilled facilitator to support your team and lead your team through a strategic planning process, or just difficult conversations that you need to have that are critical to the success of your group, be sure to reach out to us, smestrategy.net. Happy to have a conversation to see if we can lead your strategic planning process. We do facilitate it online and in person, and our ground rules are the same. So thanks so much for watching. My name's Anthony Taylor. I'm the lead facilitator and managing partner at SME Strategy. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Would love your feedback in the comments, or if there's anything else you want to share. And we will see you in our future videos.